on America. Dig on America.
Hello. It's a little show called Dig on America. Hello.
Hey y'all.
It's Jason Dutch. It's Attorney Anna. um, just the best members of Dig on America today. You've got the all-star team. Um, except except Haas couldn't make it. So I'm
You
here
so funny.
instead of Haas. Yeah, I'm subbing on the all-star team. What's up, Attorney Anna? How are you?
I am good. I am working, moving, finally.
You and me both. We're both going through the move thing at the same time.
Are you tired? Cause I am.
Dude, I 30 minutes ago I was asleep.
I feel you. I listen, I am going to go to sleep. And I'm low key like, yo, like, I'm tired.
Well, let's get you two back to sleep then. Um yeah, it's pretty exhausting, and like being here, like I'm in like a I fancy myself being an Airbnb owned by my mom and dad temporarily,
Okay.
right? So it's like I do feel like I'm in an Airbnb because like everybody's sharing. Me and my daughter and my parents are all sharing one shower. You know, like it's too. My mom's got all her food everywhere and like everything, and it's like I can't find my way around the house because there's no room to put it. There's nowhere to put anything and all that type of stuff. So I feel like I'm. It's not quite an Airbnb. In some ways,
Hmm.
it's more liberating than Airbnb, but in a lot of ways, it's more restrictive than Air. It's like you're at an Airbnb, but the owner of the house is there. You know?
Oh, so it ain't it's like you renting a room.
Oh yeah, but I'm definitely like my daughter barely comes out of the room. It's not that we don't like my mom and dad, we do, but it's their house, right? Like they got their routine
Yeah, you're not just about to be
and
walking around the house.
yeah, I can't get out, walk out of the house and in my skivvies and head over to the bathroom. I have to come
Not
out
the
in full dress, right?
skivvies.
So,
You so funny.
but it's it's all good. A lot of stuff going on here with all of the Dig on America members. So Haas is, I guess,
I
down in
know.
Houston, and I'll be living in Houston soon, but I don't know when. Like I thought I was going to be down there. I didn't think I'd be down there already, but I thought I'd be get down there in the next 2 weeks. That is not looking
Hmm.
like it's going to happen now. So,
It be
you
like
know,
that.
it is what it is. But
It is.
yeah, so I put in the title. Let me back us up a little bit here cuz we don't look quite so scrunchy. Um
I didn't mind looking scrunchy.
oh, you like it looking. This is the
My
Jason and
face.
Lindsay. Oh,
Oh,
you probably just need to turn your camera just a tiny little bit so that
I
you're in
probably
the
just need to
center of your
move it.
square. You're
But my
afraid to
bun
move
is crooked. No, I was saying my bun is crooked, so now I'm like off center, leaning to the left, leaning to the
I
right.
should have broke it to the left, man.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
You don't know Crucial Conflict?
Absolutely not. Who is Crucial Conflict?
It's a rap group from the 90s. That was one of their primary songs was Here Comes the Beer. You should have broke it to the left, man. Oh yeah.
I'm
Big time
unfamiliar with the.
Chicago 1990s hip hop group. Like I don't know if I should say big time, but
I'm
they
about to
were a
be
thing.
like, they were a time.
Yeah, they
It
were a
was a.
thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so
yeah. Sorry, I was signing into
no, it's
something.
okay. So this topic, why Trump won't be arrested,
Yeah, it's quite the
lead
topic.
us. Lead
All
us,
right,
and
so
then I have
I,
thoughts about it. Cause I wait before. Sorry, I hate that I just said lead us, and then I'm gonna go. I just want to say this. I said many years ago, Trump is going to be arrested. People laughed at me. People
Mhm.
called me crazy. People said they would never do that. Blah blah blah. And I would just love to say for y'all, we are at the helm of multiple investigations, multiple trials, all
Mhm.
happening at the same time from this crazy person who was also beating DeSantis in polling, like is a current GOP forerunner. So we have strayed far from the truth.
So that's the title of at least the Twitch stream, and I did that on purpose. Um, okay, so here's my argument as to why I was talking about this online the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, actually, before we get to that, can we play a real quick? Can we play a real quick? Actually, we don't even need to play the clip. We just talk about the clip. Ron
Okay.
DeSantis went on Sean Hannity. I don't know if you saw this. Did you see this?
I didn't see it. Play the clip.
Okay, hold on a sec. I should play the. I don't know if I can play. I have the whole clip, but I don't know where it is in the interview. Um, let me see if I can find a clip of it real quick. I watched this clip on my Twitch stream the other day, and he definitely says exactly what I'm about to say. I just don't know where exactly in this clip. Oh, here. Okay, so here's actually a Young Turks clip of it. Let's share the
Okay.
Young Turks clip of this.
Hey, joiners. Big Striker, how you doing?
Tim, thought you'd be joining us this afternoon, but no.
Who is
What's up,
Tim?
Tim?
Which one is Tim?
Big Striker is Tim.
Tim, let me find out his shoe in the chat. Where
It's
your
him.
antennas at?
It's him. It's definitely
No
him.
one invites
Uh,
me. Where are your antennas, Tim?
Tim knows the password to jump in if he ever wants to. But right now it's me and Anna time. We're doing like a left angle with me and Lindsay, but it's just me and
But
Anna, right? I have her uncomfortable
it's an
like Lindsay
acute
is.
angle.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
it?
You get to be like Lindsay this week because she's always like
You missed
mildly
my
creeped
whole
out by
joke.
being here. A cute
You missed
angle.
my
No,
whole
yeah. I am a cutie. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Um,
I don't know if that's where I was going. Hey, Mikey.
hey, there's Mikey. Heaven forbid
Hi,
Dutch asked
Mikey.
someone. Well, yeah. Hi, Mikey. Hope everything's good with you. Love you, brother. Like I told
Same.
Anna, I woke up about 9:19, so it's 9:53. We went on at 9:30. So, but here is the here's this. I think this is the clip, but we'll get to this before we get to the Trump will not go to prison part. If this is this interview on Hannity, for context, I pulled this Hannity interview up on my Twitch stream yesterday, and I had no idea what it was. I just watched it, and he said, like, it is outrageous that this guy was the president of the United States. Like at one point in time in the art in the interview, there was a moment, and it's not this moment, but there was a moment where he said, where Hannity said to him, I might have to try to find that clip too, but Hannity goes to him, he goes, Mr. President, I've known you for a long time. I can't imagine that you would ever be like, speaking of the documents in Mar-a-Lago that were in his basement, saying, hey, go grab me those documents. I want to read them. I can't imagine you would ever do that, Mr. President. And Donald Trump says, well, I'd be able to look at them if I wanted to. I was the president. I have rights. And Sean Hannity goes, oh, no. I know you could look at them, but you would never actually do it. And he goes, and he's like, oh, I would do that. And then Hanley's like, okay, let's move on. Like it was, I got shades of the. So Conde, you're telling me that you like the uniforms? No, Alex, I'm telling you, I love Hitler. like it was amazing to me. But
Listen,
I'll play this real quick clip. This is very Attorney Anna relevant, by the way. Hopefully, this is the
come
right
on,
clip.
relevance. Can you turn it up some? Can you turn it up?
Oh, you
I
couldn't
didn't
hear
hear
that?
you. No.
Really?
Did y'all hear that in the chat? See,
How are
Mikey
you not
didn't
able
hear
to
it
hear
either.
it? Okay, hold on a second.
Tim didn't hear it.
All right, let's try
I
it
miss
again.
y'all. Okay.
They share.
In the meantime, I really honestly feel like Trump been needed to go to jail. The impeachment situation, we didn't do too much.
Nope.
We didn't do enough.
Let's try that again.
We need a producer. Nah.
And I said, Ron, you can beat this guy. Let's go.
You can turn it down.
I got him the nomination. By
Turn
the
it
way,
down.
What's that?
I was saying turn it down. It's a little too loud now. Sorry.
Yeah, you guys are Anna. You're so picky. I can't hear it, or now I can hear it.
I'm
too
sorry. You
much.
trying to blow my eardrums out?
Oh boy.
and I said, Ron, you can beat this guy.
A little down, a little bit more.
My goodness.
Okay.
All right, let's try it one more time. We are bending to the ear, right? We're bending the knee to the ear right now.
And I said, Ron, you can beat this guy.
Is that good? Yeah.
Good.
The settings sidebar note, the settings between Twitch and YouTube and StreamYard are completely different. Like I have people the same things at the same audio levels on Twitch. They'll be like, I can't hear it. And then I come over here and they're like, oh, it's too loud. It's like, it's amazing. But at least someone's here to tell me. But anyway, here's Donald Trump with Sean Hannity.
And I said, Ron, you can beat this guy. Let's go. I got him the nomination. By the way, couldn't have never gotten the nomination. He would be working in either a pizza parlor place or a law office right now.
He'd be working either at a pizza parlor.
Not a pizza parlor place. He said it's giving. He said it is giving Pizza Hut, 1990s Pizza Hut. That's funny.
somewhere in the middle of a pizza parlor and a lawyer, but not sure what. He would have either been a pizza parlor or a lawyer, but like nothing in the middle. Like those were the only two options that are available to Donald Trump, to Ron DeSantis. He couldn't have worked
in
at
a law
Baskin
office.
Robbins.
He didn't mean lawyer though. He meant paralegal. He ain't mean.
Just working at a
he would have said lawyer. He didn't say. He said working in a law office.
Is that
you in a mail room?
Is that where most people? Anna, you're a lawyer. Is that where most of the other work experience for the people who work in your law office is at? Like, oh, what pizza parlor did you come from before you went up the farm system ladder?
Absolutely not. You know what's actually, just while we're here,
you used to work at a pizza parlor, didn't you?
No, I never worked in food. But what I was gonna say was admin. These places can't even work without admin. And I think it's just, when you Trump and you grow up rich, you can just kind of like be like, oh, it's whatever. They're not the important people. But let the admins don't come in. Let the people working in the office don't come in. Then what you gonna do? Nothing.
Is Mikey yelling at someone in particular? He must be yelling at me, but I'm not sure why he's yelling at me in the chat. He's angry with me, as usual, but I have no idea why. I don't know what he's. I have no idea what Mikey's talking about as usual. He's not even here, and he's and he's getting
Getting on your
mad at me.
nerves, huh? He getting on your nerves, huh? He's like, he's not even here. He's getting on my nerves.
He says Mikey says my sound's bad. Fine, gaslighter. I'm like, okay, I've never said your sound was bad. I wasn't talking about your sound, Mikey. I don't know what you're
We
talking
are
about.
not
I have
finna do
no idea what you're
this
talking about.
on the acute angle. We're not finna do this on the acute angle.
He's dropping bombs from the chat room on me. I can't escape.
We on a different. Listen, it's giving congruent. We need to go a different direction. Let's go on to the next angle.
All right. So the next angle is this. Trump. Here's my thoughts. I do not believe that that Trump is gonna. I don't even honestly. Not only do I not think he's not going to prison, I don't even think they're going to press any charges on him. Now there are multiple different.
I'm about to find. Sorry, while you talking, I just want to tell you, I'm about to find a. I was just looking at a list of all of the charges against him, so I'm going to.
I'm sure it's quite.
You're talking.
I'm sure it's quite.
It's interesting.
Oh, I'm sure it's quite the robust list, but I don't really think it matters, especially in like civil. Yeah, all the civil charges in the world will be filed against Trump. But when it comes to criminal, especially major criminal crimes, right? Like anything that would result in, we're not talking about like a Class C misdemeanor here. They wouldn't even bother to slap Trump with a Class C misdemeanor, unless like they had him, unless it's like on video and it's the clearest thing ever. But the stuff that he's been charged with, where you need a jury, etc., no jury in the world could ever even be selected. Like, who's going to be on that jury? How are they going to select the people? I haven't heard anyone talking about this but me, and maybe I'm just outside of, maybe I'm either stupid or I'm not hearing it, because I can't imagine I'm the only person bringing this up.
So
who's going to be on the jury? Like, you're going to have jury selection, and they're going to go through this. Let me kind of present this real quick. You made a political post 14 years ago, and then you're going to be eliminated from.
So let me just kind of give you a little bit of context about jury selection. So basically, voir dire is a process where it can go either one of two ways. It can be conducted by the lawyers themselves, or it could be conducted by the judge. In a case like this, the voir dire would likely be conducted by the judge, just because in a typical case where the lawyers do it, the lawyers are able to ask whatever questions they feel like are going to give them the most fair jury pool. You have depending on the jurisdiction you're in, you're going to have a certain number of preemptive strikes and strikes for cause, meaning and it depends, and there's only a finite number, because you just can't keep on going through potential jurors just until you pick your juror selection. But your preemptive strikes, your preemptive strike and your for cause strikes are different, because you only get, well, depending on the jurisdiction, you only get a certain amount of each one. The strikes for cause are for people that the court, and by the court I mean the judge, can objectively say this person is biased, this person is bringing a biased opinion. And yes, people can lie, but people can lie in any type of trial, right? Like, but the thing is that the president's life, or former president's life, is never going to be the same, but that should not, just because of the jury, should not absolve him of that liability. So what's going to happen is the judge is going to say, we're going to get rid of people who are clearly pro or against. Like if you were on Facebook posting pro or against, those people might get stricken for cause, and that might be within the judge's purview. Same thing if you got bumper stickers, if you like, and there's going to be a temporal scope about it. Like if you were extremely active leading up to, like, let's say the campaign, if you were active, like if you ever went to a rally, if you ever did any of these things, like, the system is not a perfect system, but that's going to be the way that these folks are selected. So once the preemptive once the preemptive strikes are gone, because remember, in certain trials, you only have to have a certain number of people. In the criminal trials, usually 12 people. So what's going to happen after that is once there's you get X amount of those numbers, people for cause, that the judge can say this person is going to be biased within whatever context, temporal, and substantive scope. Then you have your preemptive strikes, which is we have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 times to get rid of people on this jury that we do not think are going to be favorable to our case. And we don't have to tell the court the reason unless it's a violation of civil rights. Like unless you're trying to get them off the jury because of their color of their skin or because they're a woman or because of these other things that you don't want to be at liberty to, that you wouldn't want to be, that are not discriminatory. So that's how the jury process is the voir dire process is going to go. I'm not saying that that's an inherently fair process, but at the end of the day, the judge is going to have a lot of discretion in that. And don't forget that this is all going to be subject to review, because if it's the president, former president, it's going to likely be appealed. Every single little thing is going to be appealed. So I think that, and I don't believe that voir dire is appealable unless it's some basically clear and just arbitrary policy. Like as long as there's a reason that the judges are going to get a lot of leeway, a good, objectively good, articulable reason that the judge allowed or did not allow a juror, is going to be probably in wide latitude of the actual judge. So I think to kind of put a bow on it, I think it'll be a little bit more fair than you probably think. But again, not 100% fair, but that's the problem we have with the justice system in America in general. But I do think it'll be a little bit more fair than you're kind of saying.
Yeah. So I think that if I'm understanding what you're saying, is basically the system is set up to be able to handle situations like this in general. But the system is, the way that I see it, this is different, right? Like you're assuming that the system is, that the system as it works on a day-to-day basis is going to function in this particular situation.
It is not functional on a day-to-day basis. I mean, it's not functional on a day-to-day basis. Like it's a messed up system.
Then it won't function in this one. This guy has blown the country to pieces. People stormed the Capitol for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
People still deny that. There's people who think that Joe Biden is dead because of him. There are people
but you have to understand. But at the same time, though, to be fair, you have to consider that a grand jury decided as a collective to bring charges against him. Like there's something to be said that there's a group of people that are willing to do that under the cloth of the government. So, like, yes, he has all those people. Don't get me wrong, but I think I think it could go either way, because this is the first time in a bubble people have had an opportunity to kind of analyze the actual facts. And by people, I mean jurors. Like the objective facts presented by the government instead of information that they're getting from the news media.
I don't think so. Because I'm just telling you, this is my opinion. They're going to, I know that you have faith in the system. I know you're closer to it than I am. You're probably, and I hope you're right. I just don't think so. I think that there's a lot of things at play. I think that one way or the other, first of all, if they do select a jury and Trump is found guilty, those people on that jury are fucked for the rest of their life. They're going to be harassed, hounded. The right wing.
I think that the court can make adjustments. I think the courts can make adjustments.
What are they going to do?
So that those people are not identified.
Everybody in witness protection.
I mean, but it could be like remote. Like they have, when there's high profile cases, like they make arrangements like that. Like that's what I'm saying, is that what do you have a better suggestion as to what to do? Because if we are saying that we're just not going to go through the motions just because we don't think that it's going to work out.
I'm not saying we should not go through the motions. I'm telling you they do not want to go through the motions. That's
doesn't
why
want to go through the motions?
the people who are bringing charges against Trump and discussing whether or not they're actually going to bring charges to him and send the FBI or police to his house to arrest him. They're not going, because they're looking, the people who are going to be prosecuting this case.
What about him?
The people who are going to be prosecuting this case are going to have a lot of stuff on their plate, jury selection being one of the things, but also their entire career is going to be looked at under a microscope after this. Like we look at,
but that's the thing. You have to understand that that's exactly what these people want. These people are, when you decide that you're going to run for attorney general,
it doesn't matter
first,
that it's their job. I don't know why people are looking at this so oh, but this is the way.
But just let me finish though.
No, they're
I
not.
think, but there's a lot of people who are. There are a lot of people who are.
Apolitical in what definition? We haven't been through
The
this
only
before.
definition there is the definition of I don't care to participate in this system.
Right, I get that, but you'd have to, like, you have different groups of people who have different ideas of what is apolitical. For example, you have people who were like, oh, you know, mainstream media had a left-wing bias, like back in the 90s when it definitely wasn't a left-wing bias. You think that CNN had a left-wing bias during the Iraq war? That's absolutely absurd. But people will go back and say, well, CNN's always had a left-wing fucking bias. And it's where the Overton window is at. And like people who are apolitical and do things that are like, you know, they buy stuff at a store like Forever 21 or Levi's or whatever, the right wing is going to come out and say, oh, well, that's woke. You're only not woke. You're on the left unless you're on the extreme right.
I feel you, but I guess just in the context of things, like just in the scope of relevance, like wherever that center is or apolitical is, like there's people in there that exist, and the jury might not be that. Like obviously people might have feelings one way or another, but just because you have feelings about something doesn't mean you can't be fair and impartial, does it?
No, it doesn't. But what I am telling you is this. So let's say that they select 12 people who are apolitical, and all 12 of those people, in all of those cases, none of them ever voted.
Mm-hmm.
They don't pay attention to politics. They pass through the screening process, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with flying colors.
I don't think you. I don't think.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't think that they're going to be able to be asked whether they participated in certain elections as of why dear question.
You don't think that how they voted is going to come up?
It might, but I don't know that that's going to be permitted. It might come up, but again, I don't think that just because you participated in a government system doesn't mean that you can't be bought. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you had done something in the past, just because you did something in the past doesn't mean that you stuck with that decision, you know, wanted to remain with that decision, or that you can't be fair judging that person going forward. Just like there was a lot of people who voted for Obama, voted for Trump, or people who voted for Trump and then voted for Biden. Like just because you made that decision in the past doesn't mean that you're incapable of being a fair juror, does it?
No, it shouldn't mean those things, but we're talking about things in a normal situation. This is not a normal situation where you're going to have 28% of the country is going to assume that this was a political hit job done by leftists if he loses.
So what?
Regardless of whether or not the evidence says that these people are not leftists.
So what? But what's the but why does the court of public opinion matter in a court of law?
Because those people have lives to live afterwards. They don't want to be looking over their shoulder for the rest of their life.
So if
you're a mom of 4 and you have 4 little kids or 3 little kids or whatever, are you going to say, you know what, I'm going to go sit on this jury? And
here's the thing. So who should do it? I
definitely don't want to be on that fucking jury.
Okay, but it doesn't matter because it's your obligation as a citizen. It doesn't matter if you want to do it. If you have a medical reason why you can't be here, that's one thing. If you have a family reason why you can't be here, that's another thing. Sure. If you have a legitimate reason why you can't be here, but other than that, we don't want to be here. I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to get killed by the Klan because I'm black and I still got to be black in America. You know what I'm saying? Like it just is what it is.
I understand that what you are saying, but the difference here is that you do not have a choice to choose your skin color. People have a choice as to whether or not to engage in something that could inflict harm on them, more harm than what they have. People are going to be like, I don't want any pieces of that. We see what
but
happens.
it's an obligation like paying taxes.
I get
What's
it.
the difference between paying tax? No one wants to pay taxes.
I understand that all of your arguments under normal situations would be rock solid. This is not a normal situation. This is a situation where a person who has exposed this incredible delta in American political thought and widened that delta is on trial for something that 28% of the country thinks is made up, and probably somewhere around that ballpark of the country is convinced happened. So you're automatically choosing from that remaining 40% of people, right? So that narrows
No,
it
but
down.
you're not. But here's the reason why.
So you're
No, you're
saying that
not.
I could be on that jury.
No, you couldn't be on that jury because you don't live in that venue. You don't live in that district. We're talking about a specific crime in a specific place with a specific jury pool with specific zip codes and addresses. We're not talking about a whole swath of the United States. This is coming down to these people in this local area where this crime was committed. This is not 50 nifty United States. Like it's not that.
Where is the jury? Real quick, two quick points. Where is the jury selection going to be taking place?
It depends on the crime, and it depends on. Well, there's multiple cases.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what I'm saying.
I get that. Yeah, there's multiple. So let's talk about.
So let me just finish before you say that. So in federal district court, it takes a wider swath because most states only have 2 to 4 districts. Bigger states like Texas might have Western District, Eastern District, Northern District, Southern District. Those are federal districts, and in each state has districts, federal district courts. On a state level, states usually, and the federal district courts, their appellate court is the court of appeals for whatever circuit that state sits in. Their court of appeals is the Supreme Court of the United States. For state level, there's always a state Supreme Court at the very top. Then there's some type of appellate level. Then there's, different types of courts to handle different types of cases. In state court, I'll just take that first. In state court, the state court is going to have smaller locales of people to pull from jury selection because it's usually going to pull from the counties only. Usually it's going to pull from whatever county because there is typically in states a courthouse sits in a county. In federal district courts, the swath is way wider and you can get people from various places from across the states because there's way less districts of federal district courts. Like I said, only 2 to 4 per state. He is going through civil and criminal trials in both federal and state court. He would want to have his case for the best chance of having people more like him or more agreeable to him in federal court, because that's the larger swath of people. Usually it's half the state, a quarter of the state, whatever the size is, if it's that big. Usually if you're the plaintiff, depending on the type of case, you want a smaller venue because then you can keep the case local. Then you have an understanding as the prosecutor as to how the people in that community decide, what they're thinking about, what are the community goals. So for the cases that Trump has sitting in these state courts, it's not a swath of America that he has to worry about. It's the type of people that live in this county where this case is being brought. Those is on the state claims. On the federal claims, he's going to have a bigger swath of people to choose from, half the state, which is probably a more favorable situation for him. But that doesn't really mean anything because you could, in theory, get people from all across the state. So he might fare better in those types of cases, but it's not like it's certain ideology. And you also have to think about the places that some of these cases are. There's cases, I believe, in Southern District of New York. There's cases in Georgia. Cases, I believe, with the state of New York. There's cases going on with the E. Jean Carroll rape case. And I forget where that is. So it's just like, he really could be anywhere. These could be any kind of people. So we really can't make any assumptions about what they would be capable of just because they live in America and have had to see this play out in their personal lives. Like, I don't think that we can paint with that broad of a brush.
So my brush is broad. That's definitely true. There's a couple comments in the chat of everybody wants to be on that jury. So I understand that there's a lot of people that would want to be on that jury because they'd look at it as a meal ticket, right?
Mhm.
So that's an automatic disqualifier post-mortem. And I realize that we're talking about something that would happen after the case is over, and that the verdict would either be yay or nay at the point in time when it comes out that these people wanted to be on the jury, when the book comes out, all that type of stuff. And then you're going to have, the way that I see it, at least, you would open up, you're going to have right wing. Let's assume that Trump is found guilty, because it seems to me that they have pretty overwhelming evidence that this guy should be locked the fuck up. But again, I'm not on, we have to let the system play its course. If jurors come out and they want to be on that jury and they write books and shit afterwards, and they're going on fucking talk shows and showing up in different and on different media outlets, and then the right wing operation goes into its attack mode, and they start digging up people who knew those people, and did scouring all of their social medias and trying to figure out if they ever talked with their wife or their cousin or their brother or a coworker as, oh man, I'm excited, I might be able to get on this jury. And then they can shed the slightest little bit of doubt onto whether or not that person got onto that jury with the intention of being rich, of getting their 5 minutes of fame.
Who cares, though?
Wouldn't that give the Trump team the ability to then appeal that case and say that it wasn't a fair jury?
No, that's not a reason for appeal, because that is my experience as a human. I didn't ask to have that experience. I got selected for jury duty. Just
Right.
because I'm okay with serving on a jury, because it's not like the jurors know what case they're going to be assigned to. Jury duty is an assignment. It's not like you get to pick and be on the Trump case. Like, you are selected for jury duty. You're asked questions. So let me add this about the voir dire process. When we start asking questions about the jury, we don't always let them know who are the parties in the case. Well, we do let them know who the parties in the case are. We have asked if they have any personal connections and things like that. We don't know them before the trial, and they don't know that they're going to be on it. So just because they're not afraid to be on it doesn't mean that they're getting a book deal. And the second part of that is,
you're not applying for it.
If I have the experience, if I have that personal experience, and that's my life, and the Trump case is over, and the judge has said, you can talk about it, it's a matter of public record now, it's okay for me to make money on that. That Trump can't point that out, because if he won, it would be their experience too.
Right. Well, if he won, then it's kind of a moot point, because in that case, because he can't be retried. But if he loses, he can appeal that case, and almost certainly will appeal that case one way or the other. I believe he can appeal it all the way up to the Supreme Court.
It depends on where it is. Hold on. Do you think the jury will be sequestered? Sequestering means just kind of removing the jury from, like, just removing the jury in general, depending on what the issue is. So it could be sequestering them to make sure that they don't have engagements on social media, electronic devices, with family, friends, anything like that, given the high profile nature. It could be a situation like that because it's so sensitive. We don't want you having contact with the outside world. An example of jury sequestration is on American Crime Story, the O.J. Simpson trial. That jury was sequestered, where they were unable to communicate with folks except on a specific schedule. Juries can also be sequestered when they are removed from open court so that the parties can make their arguments before the judge. So to answer your question, likely, and I'm not a criminal attorney, but I do think it is likely that the jury will probably be sequestered. Like, once a jury gets on a case like that, they're likely not going to be able to talk to anybody, or it would be limited Abbas Fat Daddy. We're not talking about the grand jury. We're talking about a regular jury. But we were talking about the fact that he's facing both state and criminal state and federal charges. But going back to the other question, the jury could be sequestered. I think they probably likely would. We wouldn't want them talking to anybody about the case once it's
Yeah,
underway.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I can't
I
imagine
mean,
that jury not having, the judge putting every single possible restriction on them, and
yeah.
which is kind of a no-brainer to me at this point. Like they're not going to go sit in. I'm making an extreme example here, but they're not. The jury's not going to get out and then go across the street to Buffalo Wild Wings. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
No, they
it's
not.
that's not that's. Hey, we're gonna go catch the game over at B Dubs and grab ourselves
Yeah.
an
Nope.
IPA.
A lot of times they put them up in hotels and they'll get them food and books and games, stuff like that. If they anticipate them staying for a
So
long time.
here's a couple of things that I've been thinking about, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna bounce these things off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can talk me off of the fence
Okay.
or
I'll
over
see
to
what
the
I
other
can
side
do.
of the fence. All right. So during the selection process, um, how many of the questions do you believe? Because let's set the expectation first. You're going to have an expectation from people, specifically from right wing media, especially when it comes to the New York case, that the people in New York, with a rare exception here and there, are just their Overton window is far left, or at least to the
Okay.
left, right?
And same
So
thing could be said about vice versa in the Georgia trial he's facing as
you could
well.
you could make that case, um, depending on.
I would.
I don't remember exactly what district that would be in. So like I take it that's not Atlanta, because that obviously would not be the case
I'm not
over Atlanta. But
no, I'm not sure.
let's not forget that's kind of a blue state now. Georgia. Two They have two Democratic senators.
I hear you,
So
but it doesn't matter because what you were talking about was what the people in the South think of the people in the North. And I'm just saying that about Northern people could think that of Southern states, even if that's not the truth.
yeah, so I understand that, but that's not really where I was going. You're going to
Hmm.
have, speaking about the New York case specifically, we can go to the Georgia case after that. Um, would you agree that like your typical Fox News, Newsmax, OAN viewer, the typical person listens to who reads Breitbart, that narrative with the New York case when they're doing jury selection is going to be, this is the cards are being stacked against Trump. This is a left, they're doing this in one of the most left-wing areas of the country. This is not going to be a fair trial. Do you think that narrative is going to be in making its way around right-wing circles or not?
The narrative that's already making its way
Okay.
around is the fact that they even brought the charges in the first place. By the time
Right.
we had jury selection, you've accepted that this is really happening. Like you are mad right now.
So knowing that is the case, do you think that sets up a situation where those jurors are going to be under a microscope that normally wouldn't exist? When it comes to that, the people who are doing the jury selection itself, when they're going through those interviews and they're asking those questions,
So first of all,
are they going to be under a bigger microscope,
no.
a more powerful microscope than normal?
Here's the protections against it. When the jurors come in, the attorneys have a list of names, but the jurors have numbers, so they don't even all the time
Right.
know who each other are.
Hmm.
They just know. I mean, they might, if they end up serving on a jury together, they might learn each other, but for the most part, when that selection process is happening, they don't know each other. Um, so that's the very first thing. Sorry, I got something in my eyes. So that's the very first thing. I think under a microscope. So in the voir dire process, a lot of times the judge can make it so that process is not participated in by the press at all. Like they'll make it so the press can't engage in that. As far as the actual trial, press can be at trials because they're a matter of public interest and because of free speech concerns. However, the judge can instruct that they can approve sometimes and deny certain media outlets depending on how big the courtroom is, other types of needs. They might be able to permit it, but they can put certain manner restrictions on how the press can engage. So they might be able to say, hey, you can come, but you can't put the camera on any of these people. You can't list anything that you know about them. You can't describe or you can't describe them outside certain descriptive words, like maybe just using what their color appears to be in their gender. We're not going to promote these people in public because we have an interest of safety, and they might have to sign off on something saying that they won't do that to be allowed in the courtroom. A lot of times they won't even jeopardize their reputation to even, because they could be held in contempt of court. So yeah. So I think I say that to say there are procedural safeguards in place where, I mean, you didn't know who the OJ people were until they started coming out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna know those people. It's not like their information gets leaked all the time. And I imagine that for a trial like that, courthouse security will be beefed up. One, because he's a former president,
hope so.
Secret Service. Well, he gets Secret Service for 8 years.
Yeah.
After, and so I would think Secret Service, and then I will also think the court, for its own protections, will also have security as well.
Yeah, I think that's all definitely the case. But circling back, so, and I'm not sure what the Overton window comment is supposed to mean. Maybe I articulated my point wrong. There are two different things at play with the Overton window here. First of all, there is an Overton window with the people in New York. That Overton window may not be exactly the same as what the Overton window is with people who live in Missouri or Montana. As far as to what they believe is acceptable when it comes to political policy and social issues, that sort of stuff. But we're also talking about what the perception of the people by another group of people on what that Overton window is among that group of people, right? And they always, and unfortunately on the right, and we do this on the left too, but they'll kind of look at that and say, okay, well, it's people from New York, so that Overton window is going to be shifted far left. So basically, Trump is going to be being judged by a bunch of raging socialists. That's going to be that's going to be the narrative. So,
but if on the flip side, though, if he's not, then the perception is going to be it was all Trump loyalists.
He's not. They're never going to. The right is never going to say, "Oh, that wasn't the case."
What I'm saying, but the left would say that it was biased for the same reason, wouldn't they?
We would say it's biased if it. Well, first of all, it depends on what you mean by the left, but the
people who ain't the right.
If he was getting charged in Montana, I would definitely say, yeah, I would probably feel that way. But I also would make that.
But if I lived in Montana, though, I would assume that they're Trump people.
Look who's here,
Mikey.
We just got our party crash. Why aren't you on camera? Turn that camera on.
Because I'm a grown ass fucking man and quit yelling at me. You've been mean to everybody today. You calm it down, sir. The baby is asleep.
Damn. Oh, we know about that on here.
I didn't know we were allowed to talk about that. Hello, welcome, congrats, Dad.
Thank you. And listen to Anna. Anna knows how court works. Don't worry about what the right wing and what they're gonna say that the liberal. They can say all the shit that they want to say because it's axe murderers who have people on their jury. And they can't just be like, I'm out of here. It's an axe murder. I ain't finna get axe murdered. No, you have to do it. You don't have a choice.
Come on, join the chat.
I got you, Tim.
That's not a relevant point.
It is a relevant point because you was driving it home like, it's gonna be a circus. I don't know if you've been to court lately, but
it is gonna be a circus.
Try.
But
and tell the
that's
New
what
York,
court is, though. Like, what other option?
Try to tell the New York
y'all gonna
judge
be
that you're gonna
mad.
do what you want.
My argument is that the people who are driving this machine when it comes to making the decision as to whether or not they are actually going to say, go get him. Here's the warrant.
What are you talking about?
Right.
What do you like?
mean?
No, what are you actually talking about? Who is they? Don't use pronouns, just use proper nouns.
Trump. I honestly don't know who it would be.
That's what I'm saying. Who is you
but
talking
that's irrelevant
about?
to the point. If you don't know,
it is relevant to the point because I don't know what
Mikey,
you're saying.
If you don't know the mechanisms of how a bump stock works, are you still allowed to have a conversation on guns?
Okay, no,
what does
but
that have to
say
do with
what
the
you
price of
hold
tea
on.
in China? Who is the they?
Wait, guys, wait,
That's
guys,
why
wait,
I'm
guys,
talking. That's why I'm talking to an attorney and asking her the question. When at the point that we are at right now, because I honestly don't know like exactly what entity would be they in this particular case. So I'm not using they as like, oh, the people who are always against us type of thing. What I'm using they in this particular context is, if the state of New York, the Southern District of New York, or in Georgia,
the prosecutor,
the people who are making that decision, I don't know if it's the prosecutors or if it, or if that
making what decision
as to whether or not to indict him.
So the prosecutor brings that question to a grand jury. The grand jury convenes, and the grand jury says whether they've already had the grand jury.
Right.
The grand jury is the one who says yes or no, there is enough evidence here to bring charges against that person. That's the first jury, and that's just a preliminary jury. These are not the people who are serving on the jury at trial.
Right.
These are the people simply saying yes or no, there is enough evidence presented to me on the grand jury to be able to bring and levy charges against this criminal defendant, criminal defendant.
Anna, tell them about the ham sandwich.
What's the ham sandwich?
With grand juries. Grand juries will indict a ham. They'll even indict a ham sandwich. It doesn't matter. They're just the ham sandwich.
Oh.
Yeah, that.
I hate you. I'm like, what's going on with the ham sandwich? And I'm always hungry too. So I was like,
she said, ham? What kind of ham?
We've got a little bit of a clock with Anna. She's got about 20 more minutes. So let me drive the vehicle forward a little bit.
Thank you, Anna.
So the they that I referred to in this case would be specifically just the prosecutors. Hi, Tim.
Okay.
Hi. Stop using Overton window wrong.
It doesn't. Again, I don't like your definition of a word, so therefore you don't have an argument.
You mean you don't like the definition of the word? Because that's the definition of the word.
The definition of the Overton window is how a group at a particular place and time.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not. Look up the definition.
Okay.
It's about policy and government, not about ideology.
How are we gonna get off my topic for Tim's topic?
Have to do with social issues as well.
Tim, you cannot usurp my Dutch time.
Absolutely can, dude. You think that there's not
Overton
windows on social issues?
Dutch,
are you insane?
It's about policy. It's not about ideology.
I said policy and social issue. That's literally.
I don't like how I was ignored.
Well, because Tim was so chomping at the bit to come jump on here to say I disagree on your opinion on what Overton window means. I'm sorry, you're not right. You're not right.
Why is that? Why Tim jumped on here? Tim jumped on here because he has a valuable member with contributions.
Here, hold on a second.
Oh, he's gonna live Google the definition and then say, "Well, I meant the third one down here. This is the one I was using."
I am not going to play with y'all. We literally just got off of my whole topic just to do this little Overton window tangent.
So he's already.
Anna,
here you go.
The Overton window tangent.
Here's
Anna, I will stop. I'm stopping. I have stopped.
The definition of an Overton window is the
There it is.
spectrum of ideas on public policy and social issues considered acceptable by the general public at a given time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. That's precisely what I said. Now,
Sure it
moving
was.
on.
But
I mean, you act like I haven't done this
I don't know.
before.
That's what you said.
that's not what
That's
you
what I
said at
Let's go
all.
back and play the tape.
You
You
said
remixing
groups
it.
of people. Like
Yes, a group of people. That's like accepted
Tim
by the
did
general
say
public at a given time.
I
Is there a
public-
I relinquish my
is
time
there
to
a di-
Anna. We can argue about
is-
this later,
Is
Dutch.
there a different general public in New York than there is in Montana?
yes.
Lord have mercy.
So we're not talking about the general public of the United States in this particular case.
Can we put
We're
a pin in it, Dutch, and argue about it
we can
later?
put- we can
Okay.
we can put a pin in it. All right. So I mean, it's not even that important. But like that's why I brought up the bump stocks thing, because like they're saying, oh, if you don't understand it, exactly how bump stock works, you can't have an opinion on guns, right?
See how you keep
So-
having these arguments, like half arguments with other people, and then you throw it to us like we're supposed to finish it for them. Like I'm not finishing their argument.
That-
Like I don't even eat my own leftovers. I'm not eating theirs.
Now that's wasteful.
All right.
I cook
So
enough
the-
food for the one meal. That's how you do that.
The group of
Mhm.
people that we are referring to when it comes to what I was referring to as they earlier is specifically the prosecutors. Now that's why I said they, because I wasn't sure if there was
Oh,
like,
sorry, Abba.
an oversight committee or something like that that we don't know about in the general public.
I mean, Congress.
Outside of them, right? Who would be like, you prosecutors need to do this because of X.
Yeah, that exists. On the federal level, we have the United States Congress, and
Okay.
they can on the federal level, they can kind of rein in the prosecutors. And on the state level, there's different state congresses, state senators, state representatives, and they make laws and rein in the prosecutor. I mean, depending on whether the prosecutor is elected
Okay.
or appointed, they're accountable to the people.
Okay, so that they that you just described, and in this particular case, we're talking about
Which
the New
they,
York
which
case,
particular?
right?
Okay, the prosecutor in the New York case.
Yeah, we'll use
okay.
the New York one just for this particular
Okay.
instance.
Okay.
So that group of people, when they're sitting around their mahogany table and having the conversation as to whether or not they are going to say go get him or not go get him, right? He's
Mhm.
indicted or he's not indicted.
Okay.
Are they
The grand
are
jury,
they-
or are you talking about the
having
grand?
conversations about jury selection and the challenges that they will face?
When you're a prosecutor,
case
you
to that.
worried about when you're a prosecutor, your number one is, are you able to prove this case? Proving it is the first thing. Presenting it to a group of people is another thing. Because
Right.
in theory, if you have enough evidence to prove your case, at the moment that somebody decides they don't want to believe you, even though they have the evidence in their face, that's one
Right.
thing. But the whole point is that you're supposed to build as strong of a case as you can, so that you can it matters less about who's on the jury, because the evidence is so damaging in support of your case.
No, I get
They're
that.
not thinking
But that's
when they're
not
trying
what
to
I
put their
said.
case together. Okay, to answer your question, they're not thinking when they're trying to put their case together, how is a jury going to take this evidence? Because it's
No,
either
that's
evidence
not
or
what
it's
I'm
not.
saying either. What I'm saying is, do they think they will have a group of people to even present the evidence to begin
You
with?
can't know anything about the jury. You can't know anything about the jury. All you know is that you're presenting evidence. Like you cannot craft your trial strategy around who you think may be on the jury, because it is literally a crapshoot. So that's why you have
Right.
to put on just the best case that you can, or the best defense that you can, so that whoever may be on the jury can make the decision in support of your client.
But that's once they have a jury in place.
So what are you talking about?
Are they talking about the challenges of the jury selection process specifically
At what stage?
right now?
Like at what point are you okay?
Why would it
I'm
be
confused.
Why would it be more challenging than normal?
What? Why would
I'm just trying to hold on.
because
No.
the-
Hold on, Mikey. Before you
All
go
right.
down that, because I just want to understand this. What issue are you? Because I'm having trouble seeing where you find where your issue is. Where are you saying is
I
the
don't
potential
believe that
issue with
I don't
the
believe they're
jury?
going to be able to find a jury. I don't believe that they're going to be able to agree on 12 people.
So that's why I
To
said
do-
there
to
are
do
certain procedural. They don't have to agree. Like it's not like you just keep picking until everybody just keeps picks. That's why I said there's procedural safeguards, which are the judge is
Right.
going to say we have X amount of strikes. Okay, we're going to terminate people for cause. But at a point, y'all use y'all preemptive strikes. Let's just say it's 3. Meaning you can get rid of anybody for any reason as long as it's not discriminatory. Once you get rid of those and we go through all these people and we have the first 12 people seated, we'll be like, are you going to strike anybody for cause? Meaning, is there anyone on this jury that you can say is overtly biased? Why? And the judge is going to give you a chance to explain that part. They're going to call that juror up there. The judge is going to ask that juror questions. So in his or her, the judge's purview, they can determine themselves whether the court believes that that person can be fair and impartial. And the judge is going to make that decision. If the judge says yes, that person is going to sit down. Doesn't matter what the lawyers want. It doesn't matter what the parties want. It's, can we find people that are fair and impartial in this system already? It's not like we just going to keep on picking.
Right. So,
and each side only has so many strikes.
Right. But they also have so that's actually something I don't know about. So here's one of the challenges. I figured. Here's one of the challenges. Thanks for the pejorative that I was looking at. Like, how many mailers are they going to mail out for this? Do you think?
It's regular jury selection.
Okay, so it's just
you making it seem like it's different. They gonna sometimes they send you in the mail. Sometimes they send you. They send them out to everybody. It depends on whether you're in federal. It depends on what state you're in, what size the district is, what size the county is. Like it's a lot of dependence. But usually each state has some type of notification process where they will email you a regular mailer or send you an email from the government, basically with a link to fill out all this information. How they do a lot of preliminary information to prevent having to have all these people is they make you go to a website or send you a survey, and they say, put your name in here, your occupation, your date of birth, where you live, and certain basic questions so they can weed out, with the court's permission, a whole bunch of people before anybody even shows up. Mm-hmm. Then of those people who remain, those people might get called in for further selection at the actual courthouse.
Right, but then how big is that pool of people?
It depends on there is no generally speaking, because it depends on where you are and what state and what venue. In the federal district venue, the pool is going to be larger because remember I said each state usually has 2 to 4 districts on the federal level. On a county level, you can have states with hundreds of districts, meaning they all may be on the trial level or first level state court, but that could be hundreds of districts and they could be different sizes. Like LA County might not be the same as a county in Connecticut. So just because they have the same impact. So it's hard to say without saying where a place is,
we're talking about
many.
New York. So in that particular
Southern District in New York, it depends on how many people live there. Like at least 8 million people live probably in the New York City area, and Southern District might encompass a little bit more than that. So let's just say it's 10 million people.
Okay, so what would 10 million people equate to in a jury like a jury pool
it's
which
just like
they will select?
It's the same as all other jury selection. Your name gets submitted for jury duty just like everybody else. It's literally an automated process. It's the same selection
not
as any other.
How many? Like what is the number of people?
However big the sample size is of the district or venue.
So what would be your guess as to let's say there's 6 million people in that district?
I'm not sure however many, but let's just say it's about 4 million that are people who are registered to vote and are in the system such that they can be pulled for jury duty.
Okay.
Like let's just say it's that, because everybody might not be eligible, or everybody might not be able to, just because that's the number of people.
I'm not seeing
adults.
like a number online for this. It's okay. So there is a estimate here. from NewYorkLawyers.org. I don't know how reputable that organization is, but seems credible. Approximately 3 million people reside in the Southern District of New York. So,
okay, so I was close. 4 million,
so
3
like,
million.
if you have 3 million people, what would be your educated guess as to like how many people will get that letter in the mail to say you are to show
As
that
many
you're a
people
jury?
on a as it
let me-
complete. This is a process. Jury duty is a process that goes on every single day.
But
The
you have to-
likelihood of you getting jury duty in the mail is the same likelihood as everybody else getting jury duty in the mail.
And there's-
Like you
and
either
that's-
get
and
it
that's
or
not-
you don't.
that's not the only case that's going on in the Southern District of New
Yeah, I
York.
know.
So
I know how that
today,
works.
so
Yeah.
today someone got sent to jury duty. Tomorrow somebody will. Like this
Right.
is an ongoing thing. And then if people get
Yeah,
that
I've been on a
jury
jury.
duty,
I know how that works. Yeah. You're
so
right.
then why are you so confused about how this
No,
is going down?
It's not that I'm not confused about it. I'm just asking questions. So, like, if I go, when I sat on a jury, I sat on a jury in DuPage County, Illinois, obviously considerably smaller than Southern District of New York. We had a jury room. There's probably, I don't know, they probably had 12 cases on the docket that day. I have no idea how many they had. And there was probably, I don't know, 40 or so, 50 people in that room, right? When I was there. And, you know, I think there was another room with probably the same amount of people. I don't know how many people, but it wasn't like hundreds and hundreds of people who were there in jury selection, right? We had like the little badges that just said juror, and you know, then you go into the courtroom and they give you a quick interview and then they say thank you for your time and you're either selected or you're not, right? So sometimes I guess they might call you back. But in the case of this case in New York, this particular case in New York, right? Like, is that going to fall under the same guidelines, you think, where the same process that they have, that is that mechanism going to work the same as it would for, like, you know, the other case that's on the court that day, which is Joe who stole a Twix bar from Walgreens. So I could either be on the Trump case or the Joe stole a Twix bar.
But you have to
case,
understand,
sure.
here's the thing. Yes, you don't know what jury you're going to be on, and you have to understand about federal crimes. It's never going to be Joe stole a Twix bar for a federal crime. Like, for criminal cases, they're only going to be like criminal. I'm just saying, like, to underscore the seriousness, because the Trump matter might not be the only important matter going on in that building at a time. Like, there could be other celebrity matters going on in that courthouse. There could be other diplomatic type of matters. There could be a whole bunch of stuff. Like, while that will be probably one of the more notable cases in that courthouse at that time, the jury selection mechanism is going to work the same in that case as in any other case in that county.
So you think that they're going to have enough people when they so the way that I'm looking at that is this: seeing as this is a case of a president in a highly politicized environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where one's political affiliations could be a big part of the decision as to whether or not that person is actually allowed to be on that jury in the first place, right? That's going to be a pretty robust process to make that determination, I would imagine, other than just asking, hi, Tim Bristol, can you be a fair and impartial juror? Do you hate Donald Trump? Do you love Donald Trump? Right? And he's like, no, I don't hate him. No,
those are
him.
the
I'm
types
pretty apolitical, right?
Okay.
But they're going to have to comb through people's Twitters, Facebooks,
No. The
so
jury selection process is not permitted to. You're not permitted to go through that far. It's a decision you are to make in the moment with no external anything.
Okay, so
we're not permitted to go.
And we find out who the jury, and it starts to leak as to who some of these people in this jury are. And then
we have alternates.
Sean Hannity.
That's why
posted an anti-Trump thing in 2019.
That's why alternates exist. We have alternates, and if it's too far along in the trial, we'll have a mistrial and we'll just do this again. But we're going to do it.
Don't you think that the potential for mistrial for that happening is higher than normal? Substantially higher.
Sure, but so is the OJ potential for mistrial.
Right, and that's why we're making movies about that one right now. But
but this is also a president.
But OJ didn't have 28% of America supporting a riot at the Capitol.
But you know what he did have? A jury. He did have a jury, and he was indicted by a grand jury. So that's what they do have in common, is that they are both criminal defendants that by a jury of their peers decided that there was enough evidence against them for the state or federal government to formally bring charges. It doesn't matter what the whole rest of the country is doing. We don't care in Georgia what y'all doing in Montana. We don't care in New York what y'all doing in Texas. We don't care in these places what y'all doing in other places. And that frankly doesn't have any impact.
They do care.
No, it does. Let me just read you the actual list of charges because I actually got them up.
Are you trying to say that the rest of the country doesn't care about what they're doing in New York?
I'm saying I'm saying what the people in the jury of those cases where the cases are sitting do not care about what the onlookers are caring about, because guess who's on the jury and guess who's not? I don't care what you think. You're not on the jury. Your opinion obviously doesn't matter, or you would be sitting here. So I'll say that. So here's the cases. Here's the different cases that he's going through right now. Indictments. The Trump Organization payroll case. Trump Organization, so this is his organization, not him as an individual, was found guilty of 17 tax fraud counts on December 6, 2022, in a speedy slam dunk conviction in New York State Court. A 4-woman, 8-man, mostly working class jury held Trump's real estate and golf resort businesses criminally liable for a 2005 through 2018 tax dodge scheme admittedly run by the company's executives. Blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
Criminal investigation. Here's the next one. Here's him as a person. Fulton County election interference probe. And Fulton County is the city that Fulton County is the county that Atlanta sits in. So that was to answer your question that you had asked earlier. The prosecutor there, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis is investigating whether Trump and his associates tried to interfere in the 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Her probe has expanded to also include investigating an alleged scheme to send a fake slate of electors to Georgia's state capitol in an attempt to overturn the election. A special grand jury has recommended multiple indictments, according to the jury's 4-woman. A redacted report shows the special grand jury also believed that several witnesses lied under oath. Now, the prosecutor is going to decide whether, the Fulton County District Attorney is going to decide whether to refer the report to an ordinary grand jury to bring criminal charges. In New York, this is the district attorney. Let's see.
It's like Christmas. Keep reading.
I think this is federal court.
The one that
Bragg is investigating. Just let me finish this. Sorry.
Yeah.
District Attorney Alvin Bragg is investigating whether Trump violated campaign finance laws in connection to hush money payments made to Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. In January, Bragg formed a grand jury to consider charges against Trump. What's next? Trump risks anywhere between no jail time and 4 years in state prison, so it's a state crime, if convicted of what former Manhattan financial crimes prosecutors say is the most likely charge against him: felony of falsifying business records. I don't think they're also looking into the Justice Department has an investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Federal investigators are scrutinizing the role Trump and his allies played in an effort to overturn the 2020 election. Justice Department is facing pressure to prosecute following a string of congressional hearings that connected the former president of the violence of January 6th into efforts to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Jack Smith as a special counsel to take over the probe. Smith's prosecutors have subpoenaed Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, and former Vice President Mike Pence. The Justice Department has largely remained silent about how and whether it would consider charges against Trump. Same thing with the handling of classified documents. That's at the Department of Justice. The New York Attorney General has a civil filing.
Real quick on that one you just read. It said they're under pressure to bring charges. Does it determine, or can you shed any light on from where that pressure that they talked about is coming?
Probably Congress. lawmakers,
But Congress
probably
is
people who
right is well. Are we talking about the House or the Congress in general?
both, like
The
the
what?
all party political affiliations, probably want them to prosecute it, and then some probably don't want them to.
So even though the House is run by the House of Representatives is run by Republicans at the
I mean,
moment.
but them not the only people that's gonna want to pressure the Department of Justice to do something. If I'm in the losing party, wouldn't I want them to make my guys look good and make their guys look bad? That's pressure.
Right. So it doesn't have to necessarily mean the majority of that body. It could be 4 people in that body are putting pressure on them.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to define at that when it says that.
So there's also, those are just the criminal charges. Here's the civil charges. New York Attorney General Letitia James has sued Trump, his family, and the Trump Organization over financial wrongdoing. Now he has a trial scheduled for October 2nd, 2023. The judge has said that trial is going to go on come hell or high water, which means that there will be a jury selected.
But that's a
Lawsuits
civil
alleging,
case, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what, yeah.
Lawsuits alleging incitement on January 6th. That's on appeal for oral argument. E. Jean Carroll's rape and defamation case. She's doing that in federal district court in Manhattan. Then she filed a second lawsuit with an added rape allegation following the passage of a New York law that gave sex assault victims a new window to file civil cases regardless of the time frame when the alleged incident occurred. The second lawsuit is headed to trial in April. That's next month. They have a jury for that. The multi-level marketing pyramid scheme. People are suing Trump, his business, his kids for promoting a MLM scam on The Celebrity Apprentice. The trial date for that is going to be 2024. Michael Cohen's imprisonment case. Michael Cohen is suing Trump for $20 million for the time he spent in prison for helping Trump lie about his tenure and lying to Congress. The case was dismissed in November, but Cohen filed an appeal. He has a copyright case going on. He's suing his aunt. So that's why I'm saying, like, there's a lot of people that are going to be involved in the jury selection process because, in part, there are multiple trials, civil and criminal, in so many different forums. It's just going to be business because at a point, it's just going to be back to back lawsuits.
So what are we going to say in 2 years from now when nothing sticks as to what the reason was?
See, but the thing is that how do we know nothing is going to stick? There are grand juries that are saying that these people did it. That means a group of people came together and said he did it.
There's
enough here for us to prosecute him. So if they can do it on one occasion, why are we feeling like they can't do it on other occasions?
Because what I'm trying to wrap my head around here, and this is why I think one of the things with, the difficulties of selecting a jury in this particular case and the backlash to whatever that jury is going to be afterwards from one side or the other, more or less the right. I think that's the things that they're thinking about. The prosecutors in this case.
Why would you be thinking about backlash?
Because that's what people should do.
Why would I do that when I think about my case?
Why would you not want to think about the
political
consequences of what you do?
Because what are the sorry, I don't really understand that, because my job as a prosecutor, I'm going to get backlash regardless. You think people want to go to jail? You think famous people want to go to jail? You think rich people want to go to jail?
You think dangerous people
always going to be happy with my decision?
You think murderers want to go to jail?
We have a multi-tiered justice system.
And, mobsters.
If Donald Trump was not Donald Trump and he was me, like someone just like at my stature in society, my station, thank you. I would have been locked up a long time ago.
Okay.
Right.
What does that mean?
So we have a multi-tiered system, and I normally would say a 2-tier justice system, but in this case, there's clearly at least a 3rd tier for someone who used to be a president.
But we don't know that because he hasn't been tried yet. We haven't even selected a jury.
Exactly.
We don't know if the jury will look at falsification of records and say, no, he didn't do that, when we might have him on camera saying, yeah, I just lied. Like, we don't know.
We have him on camera asking Raffensperger,
but there might be
for
enough
11,000
information.
votes.
So okay, so and he is being brought up on charges in Fulton County for that exactly. So we are doing that.
Like,
A grand jury said
Let me-
are
can I ask
think
a
there's
question?
enough there.
2 years
Let
ago.
me ask the question. Let me ask the
Go ahead.
question.
But there's a process. There's a process.
Let me ask. Hold on,
This-
Anna, because I'm getting right to where you're going here. So, Dutch, the things that you said would never happen and couldn't be done and shouldn't be done because of the backlash, because of the politicization of everything. It's literally happening. It's happening. It's just court, and it takes a while. And there's no weaseling him way out. He can't pardon himself. You know what I mean? Like this is court. Like he's going to court.
Yeah,
it's not.
I don't
It's not
think
like
that any of this is going to happen. I think that they're going to chicken out. And that's
who's
what
going
I'm
to chicken out?
No,
The
they
prosecutors are
cannot.
threatened
Tim,
all
your
the
mic is
time.
loud. You're like
Yeah.
loud.
Tim,
Oh,
you're booming.
sorry.
Yeah, I think that they are going to chicken out, and it's going to reinforce.
Who gonna chicken out?
It's their job, bro.
Is this better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you
Well,
do you not think they get threatened by mobsters all the time, organized crime all the time?
Possibly.
Yes.
Then
How-
what's
how
the
is
difference
that-
between
how is
the
that-
mob and Donald Trump?
Well, there's probably not much difference between the mob and Donald
Exactly.
Trump,
So I don't know what
But-
their problem would be.
because most people don't. I mean, there is a difference as far as like how popular the mob today's mob is in the world.
But
You think they're not gonna get protection? You think they're not
The-
gonna have any type of security?
I don't
Al
think that- I
Capone
don't-
went
I
to
don't think
trial
that
and he went to jail.
Yeah, but the mob of today is not the same as the mob of the 1920s. They mostly
Okay.
they mostly operate in the shadows. They're not putting horses in people's head in
Either
beds
way,
anymore.
that's not the key
You
to this.
know.
But the
They
whole
do get
point of
threatened all the time.
the whole point of it is
yeah, but
people are
financially
threatened.
usually.
People are not just financially.
No.
People are physically threatened, and caused harm sometimes from people in cases like it happens. Why would we stop the gears of justice just because Donald Trump's involved? He's not the most dangerous person in America.
It seems to me that the gears of justice are stopped by something, because you have Anna just read a number of cases, some of which are decades old, and nothing has ever come to court.
She also just said that they changed the law so that people could have a larger window to prosecute people with that.
Right, but that was in one of those instances.
And that was the one that
But
was from
the
decades
other-
ago.
But the other instances, like you still, just because you just became aware of a crime or you just got evidence of a crime, doesn't mean you can't prosecute it because it's old. If you were within the statute of limitations.
Right. No, that I understand. I feel like what the things that are happening right now are going to eventually bolster the divisiveness in this country.
If he
That
was
was gonna
gonna-
happen
if he-
anyway, though.
If he was
That
gonna,
was gonna happen
if
anyway.
he was
Where
gonna
this is gonna
squiggle out
end
of it,
well.
if he was gonna squiggle out of it, it would have been during the grand jury. But the grand jury has already said we're going to trial. He's fucked. He has to go to trial now, and if he doesn't show up, he goes to jail.
I think they're going to
that's-
end up
that's-
having multiple mistrials, and at some point in time, it's going to become a financial.
You think the
burden.
You think the prosecutor is gonna fucking misstep at all? You
Yes.
think they're yeah, right.
Okay,
dude.
but here's the thing about mistrials.
1000%. yes.
The judge has to declare a mistrial. Okay, so and it doesn't always, like, every time a juror does something or something is found out, that does not automatically mean a miscarriage of justice, so that we have to just call a mistrial.
Right.
Like, and that's within the judge's purview, and the parties can appeal that decision, and then the appellate court, up to whatever degree of appeals you can get it to, is going to make the decision yes or no. But other than that,
And I want to be respectful to your time, because you told me that you're 8 minutes past when you said you had a hard stop.
yes,
So
I'll give
well,
you
I will talk to
7
you
minutes.
for 10 more hours. All right, 7
I
more
will
minutes.
give you
you
5
watch-
minutes.
do you-
I take it back.
Tim, you haven't talked yet. Go ahead.
I'm leaving when Anna leaves, so
Oh.
I'm gonna jump in and take over Tim's time.
Okay.
Well, we missed
Dutch,
you. So
Dutch, do you watch a lot of like court TV and stuff
Never.
like that?
no.
I would. There's a lot of good stuff because a lot of the courts are Zoom, So you can find like some, like I have some of my like favorite judges that I follow them on YouTube. You can watch court. You
No, I
just
get
watch
that. I'm just
court,
saying that
and
this won't fit into those boxes. Like I think this is a different animal.
you
completely.
are saying things, but then he can't just dictate that it's different this time, or he's just not like, he's not so big of a celebrity that he can ignore a judge.
No, I
Sorry.
don't think Trump. Actually, well, Trump definitely thinks he's big enough to do that, but that's besides
He
the
gonna
point.
find.
He will
let
get
him.
held in
Thinks he's big
contempt.
enough or
Let
not is
him.
He will
irrelevant,
get
right?
held in contempt.
No,
Because look,
what he
dude,
thinks
Alex,
is, what he
do you
thinks is
think
irrelevant.
who do you think is crazier, Alex Jones or Donald Trump?
Tie.
See, can you answer in the affirmative or the negative, please?
I just said it's a. They played 3 overtimes. It's a tie. Who's crazier, Trump or Alex Jones? I don't know. They're both insane.
Just say
Okay,
one
let's-
so I can go on with my sentence.
Alex Jones by a nose.
Cool. Alex Jones. Remember when Alex Jones was in court?
Yes.
You see him acting up?
Yes, I did.
No, you did not.
No, I did. No, I did absolutely watch those clips.
He did not act up with that judge at all, because he knows you will go your ass into a cell if you act crazy in a courtroom. You can't just do what you want.
Yeah, but is that the qualifier for this conversation? Is to he didn't act crazy? I don't think Trump's going to get in there and act crazy. I don't think Alex
He's
Jones
smart.
acted
He ain't gonna say
acted
nothing.
crazy.
Well, yeah,
If
but what I
he's
think-
smart, he will shut up.
I think
Trump
it's
is
the
very
outside
litigious, though.
pressures. I think you guys are underestimating the outside social pressures on this.
But that's
I think
not
you
gonna matter.
I think you overestimating.
That's very
the
possible. Maybe
amount
I am.
of
But
pressure
I'm looking
that
for a
they're
reason
under on
why
a
this
regular.
is still going on, and I don't believe they're going to press
Why
any
it's still
charges.
going on?
And I'm
What do
trying
you
to
mean
figure
why it's
out
still going
preemptively why
on?
that is.
I don't
It's
understand why you're
overwhelming
saying
that we
why
should be-
is
Hold on,
the guy should
Dutch.
be
Hold
engaged.
on, Dutch. She's trying to answer you.
I don't
and then you guys are
understand
talking over each
why
other.
you're saying it's overwhelmed. What is overwhelming about? Why are you saying the process is taking this long?
We were told, and again, when I say we,
Who is we
we're
and who
told,
told y'all?
that I knew that's what I
people.
was literally getting ready to address, because but like, if you when I was when I was still engaging in Twitter before Elon killed it, there were a lot of people who were tweeting stuff out, and big time, blue check marks and stuff like that. Like when they raided Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago, they were like, "This is the end. It's going to be days before we see charges," and that was a year ago. Like
How would they know that?
Rudy
though?
Giuliani was raided 2 years ago, and nothing has happened to Rudy Giuliani yet.
But
So
Dutch,
this
that was
Rudy
reinforces
Giuliani is facing charges.
Rudy Giuliani is not set in front of any fucking jury.
I'm finna tell you, just Rudy Giuliani charges.
Dutch, that was
But-
all speculation, though. You're going off of speculation. No
Yeah, they
attorney
don't-
came out and said that.
Right.
Because
That's
because that's just
then
the
I was
thing.
like-
Unless it was the prosecutors who were the ones that were tweeting, those fucking guys have no idea. They
I-
don't
I-
know. They
I
can't
get it.
know.
But I get it. But like all of this stuff gets added to the narrative about like there's a witch hunt, and when I look at
that's
what's going on
people
with
who
Trump,
are
I
in
don't see a
support-
witch hunt. I see a guy did actual shit, because like especially if you read the Mueller report, and if you look deep into the details of the stuff that's going on here, of the different allegations against him, it's pretty loud to me, at least, that this guy should at least be facing some sort of charges.
All right.
I don't believe that is ever going to happen. There
Well,
has to be a reason why that is not going to happen. What is that reason is what I'm trying to wrap my head around.
But you
And I'm like,
can't
well,
have
maybe
a
they
reason
can't-
for
maybe
it
they
because
can't
it
go to
might still
jury.
be. It might be you can't find a reason for it because it just hasn't happened yet. So you
And-
can't say it didn't happen because of this reason, because it takes a long time.
And there's a
Obviously.
big difference between what was said in the Mueller report and all of these other charges. What was said in the Mueller report is that Mueller said that Trump did some shady stuff, but the Justice Department had a policy of not prosecuting sitting presidents. And Bill
Right.
Barr, who was Attorney General at the time, said the same thing.
Right.
That is why Trump never went to jail for any of that stuff.
Right, but the
Yeah.
Mueller report also said that they recommended, law enforcement or the justice system to look at the DOJ or whatever it was to look at this.
Right. And Bill Barr, who was in charge
That's
of the
how I know
Department of
it's my
Justice,
time to go to bed.
said, no, we don't. So he
Well, yeah,
was
but
like,
Bill
the
Barr's
matter,
been
the
out of
matter is
office
settled.
for 2 years now.
Right.
Who's done what for 2 years?
Bill Barr hasn't been in charge of the DOJ since what, December of 2020? Is when he
But the
stepped
thing
down.
is it doesn't matter because if he was present when certain decisions were made, then his fingerprint is still on those matters. Like it doesn't matter that he left. But I guess the bigger thing is I think that when you're attorney general, the fact that you would even dare to charge a former president in a case like this means that you know that you have to be prepared for anything, whether that's violence, whether that's danger, whether that's threats, whether whatever. The fact that these people in all these states, prosecutors, these people being prosecutors, have decided to levy charges against Trump anyway and go to grand jury, and then grand juries have said that they believe that there is substantial information and that they're taking this to court, to open court where juries have to be impaneled, I think really says a lot. So I guess I say that to say to your point, Dutch, like I think you're overestimating the perceived threat to the prosecutors and the jury. Like the prosecutors have a vested interest in charging him. You know what a guilty charge against a former president would do for your career? They have a vested interest in that. Okay? People in the jury, like we were talking about earlier, people in the jury I didn't sign up to do the Trump jury duty, but if I get selected to do the Trump jury duty, I have a vested interest in being part of a decision where we could be in a room together and the foreperson says, we have a decision right here, right now, whether we can punish somebody in a small way for something that they did, yes or no. And that whole group of people could say, yes, we are going to do this. And then, yes, to your point again earlier, they will turn around and in 5-10 years, get a book deal, movie deal, podcast, talk about it. And you just get it how you live. But I don't think that there's any added unforeseeable risk to the prosecutors, added unforeseeable risk to the jury. You saw that there was fake bomb threats to the Manhattan District Attorney, Manhattan District Court when Trump was there. Bomb threats not gonna happen every single day. At some point, he's gonna have to face the music. Okay. So I hear what you're saying, but I think that the risk is smaller than I think you think it is.
I have a little bit of breaking news, and Anna, you might be interested in this. Apparently, Alan Weisselberg is no longer representing Trump's attorneys per NBC.
That's important.
And apparently, this points towards the possibility of Weisselberg cutting a deal with the Manhattan DA and cooperating against Trump, which would explain everything that's going on in Manhattan right now.
And you also have to understand that you made the point earlier, Dutch. Thanks for that, Tim. You made the point earlier, Dutch, about this stuff taking so long. You have to understand that these people have to really investigate this stuff for a long time before they can just go willy-nilly bring charges. So if that means that they have to interview 100 doggone people to make sure that they can bring these charges, that's going to take some time because I'm having somebody in the back putting me together summaries and everybody says, so when I talk to him next, I'm trying to corroborate 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stories against each other because better believe when that trial comes and I have to present it to the jury, the grand jury is going to need a timeline of events. The jury is going to need a timeline of events.
Right.
And this might be a good time for Trump to plead guilty or no contest.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think where I'm going with this is if we had one case or this was 2 cases and it was taking this long, you'd be like, okay, you ran down a laundry list of cases and every single one of them is going on into perpetuity. And I honestly am of the opinion
no, it's
that
not. They have no. They have litigation schedules. It's not into perpetuity.
Case took place during the campaign.
Yeah, but she just said that one of those cases has a trial date in October.
Not the story.
You know how long it takes to get a trial date, especially if you're in federal court. It could take a year to get a trial date.
Sure,
like you have to get in line.
Threw a wrench in this as well. I get that. Like it's
on top of that. Some cases are only some of cases that I had in litigation were going to trial 2 years later.
Right, but Stormy Daniels' case was what, 2015? It was 8 years ago.
Okay, but depending on how litigious your attorneys are, that could be a filing appeal after appeal after appeal. What happens? How much time Here's the time that goes into the legal system. I might file a motion, and then the other side has 30 days, let's just say, to respond to my motion. And then guess what? I have planned a vacation as the lawyer. Hey, judge, can we have another 30 days? That's 3 months right there. Then I get 30
No, I
days
get
to
it.
respond to their thing. And
But
now we're talking about
Michael Cohen's already served his sentence for that case.
he
and
also
no.
pled guilty. He also immediately pled guilty and came out. Trump decided to fight it. And when you're litigious and you have a lot of money to be able to appeal every single little thing, there's procedural timelines that get impacted as a result of that.
Sure.
What's happening is that Trump has exhausted all of those issues. So now he's coming up to the point where he has no choice but to face the music, which is you either plead guilty, no contest, or you go to trial and roll the dice.
Well, I hope you're right. I just don't.
Hope I'm right about what?
sorry,
That's the
but I'm-
process.
I hope you're right that. Okay, yeah. I hope you're right that that what you are saying is that, if I'm understanding what you're saying, is that this is the process, and this is how long that it took, and we're about to see the ball drop.
He's been dragging his feet. He's been intentionally dragging his feet this entire time.
Well, we know two things for sure. He has a trial coming up literally next month. I think that's E. Jean Carroll. And he has a trial coming up with one of the criminal charges. I'm going to find which one in a second, coming up in October. So at the very least, we know he's about to be in court for the next 6 months.
Yerp.
Okay.
He's going to take some time off his campaign schedule.
I am
live from Fulton City Jail.
I am in I'll believe it when I see it mode, because I am at the
That's
point
what
where I
people
don't
said
believe
about
it.
the indictments. And then they came up. Then we had two prosecutors that came up. People said he would never be indicted. He's a former president. How would that look? It's the United States of America. And now I just listed off a list of things that he is getting indicted for.
Right. And the civil ones, I mean, we kind of got to throw those. Nobody cares about those, unfortunately. And when I say nobody, I'm talking
People
about.
do care about those.
When I say nobody, I'm talking about your general Fox News viewer, right?
When he says no money, he means like,
I mean, but when you say like
people,
civil rape case, like, I mean,
yeah, normally
I
should
think
be a
that's
big deal.
Big deal.
But that's like that is, if there was a Trump newspaper, that particular case would be on like page 6.
Why would we even be talking about it? It wouldn't be in the Trump newspaper. And why would we even be caring about what they write?
Luckily, the judge doesn't read the Trump newspaper, and the judge will preside over that case, whether or not it's on page 1 or 50.
Last real quick question for Anna before you bounce.
Bounce.
If Trump is found guilty in Southern District of New York or Georgia, which are the two that seem to be like on the front page of the Trump newspaper at the moment, could either or both of those cases eventually sit in front of the Supreme Court, or no?
Yes,
I've heard yes, and I've heard no.
Yes, but on very narrow issues. So one theory of jurisprudence meaning the history of law, is that we're not supposed to disturb jury decisions. It's like basically this is the most sacred thing because a group of people took time out their schedule, got together, and made this decision together. So courts put a lot of weight, I should say, on the actual jury's determination. Could Trump appeal? Yes, but he can only appeal on narrow issues such as ineffective assistance of counsel, that he got an unfair trial, that there was some type of
Brady
procedural
violation.
or trial defect, like a Brady violation. Like there has to be some major defect in the trial that he can point to say this issue would have changed the outcome of the entire case. Because if you are showing an issue that was substantial, but the judge or the court doesn't think that would impact the jury's decision, it's still going to be that decision, whether it was a right of appeal or not. So to answer your question, yes, but it would be on a very narrow issue. For example, and I'm just making this up out of thin air, a question that could go to the jury is, if we have evidence that someone was, I don't know, let's just say if we had evidence that someone was or a criminal defendant was found guilty in civil trials of other X-related crimes, does that mean an automatic presumption of guilt in the criminal trial? Like it could be something totally like that, like a very narrow and discrete issues. That's what usually comes up before Supreme Court justices are narrow and discrete issues that have broader implications. Like when we talked about Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health, a couple months ago now, or basically one of the issues in that case was about the restrictions that were being implemented in Mississippi as far as that hospital, not abortion itself, and maybe fundamental rights, like fundamental rights to privacy, not abortion itself. So that's what it would mean to get in front of the Supreme Court.